Walter, do we also need to spend more time on educating physicians on what immunotherapy can do? Mr. Canonica?
I do agree. First of all, let me add that, for instance, in Italy, but I know also in other countries, there are differences compared depending on the region. So the situation of reimbursement is quite jeopardized. And nowadays, we are more and more going to have reimbursement for documented product instead of the products without evidences. And this, of course, is an added value for the patients. As far as education is concerned, I do agree with you. The point of education, and it was mentioned before, is crucial. First, for the patients, just to let them know how effective could be immunotherapy. And of course, growing from the basis, this is always important, mainly for the politicians. And this should be one of the strategies, which up to now was not yet sufficiently performed. As far as the physician's education, I must confess that we should start from the medical school. And up to now, I have to say that this kind of treatment, except in some isolated university, is not sufficiently performed. And in this case, there is no awareness of this kind of treatment in the medical community. Then you have to talk about the different specialists. Allergy and immunotherapy was mainly in the hand of allergists, but should be in the hand of, it was mentioned the concept of the multidisciplinary team, and I can't agree more. Nowadays, more and more, the multidisciplinary team should evaluate the patient and should define what's the strategy of treatment. Just let me talk about IPF, pulmonary fibrosis. There is not just one person that is deciding. There is a multidisciplinary team. Again, here, and mainly if we are now thinking about how important is the definition of the sensitization. For instance, using the molecular allergy diagnosis that is helping us a lot in finding what is the genuine sensitization for the patient, and it is, of course, addressing what is the best immunotherapy treatment for the patient.
Dr. Shamji, more needs to be done in educating physicians. Is that also your opinion?
I think it's really important that our physicians are very well informed right from the beginning. So bringing the issue or the challenges that we have through medical schools and then entering medical practices and also continuous education is also very important, because in this modern world there's a lot of changes. So now, for example, for moving on from normal guidelines, we want to think about future guidelines, new generation of guidelines. And this is really, what's really important here is the awareness and educating our physicians, but also particularly our patients as well at the same time, and making this as a global challenge that we want to tackle all collectively together. And I think that's really, really important.
We'll talk about patients in a moment, but let's first focus on physicians. Monsieur Bousquet, what needs to be done to get physicians to give physicians more information about this? Are GPs enough aware of what immunotherapy is and what it can do, for instance?
Well, for the past 40 years, we have tried to educate either patients or GPs or everyone, and these education measures have failed. Because when I was a resident, I had education in my head. I am now retired, and it's still education. So we need to find new ways of education. We need to go to internet. We need to go to social media. And if we continue our education methods as we are doing now, I don't think we're going to change anything. So, yes, we need to educate, but we also need to better stratify the patient. And this has nothing to do with education. because it has to do with self-management strategies, which are essential. And no one is discussing self-management in any chronic disease. Second, adherence to treatment. No one is adherent to treatment. Third, the right medication. You didn't have the right medication. I'm sorry to say that. For 20 years, you didn't have the right medication, and you were suffering. So it's not education. It is a full strategy going from the patient to the specialist, changing completely the mind of the people, and not trying to educate people, but trying to change human nature. Because in fact, when an allergist is allergic, is not more adherent than a patient. So he has full health literacy, but is not adherent. And we need to have new methods. I think that 20 years ago we didn't have Google and things like this, and we need to get a Google-type approach to educate people.